Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. I'm Biola Alabi.
I'm Sundra Biola. A court in London last week ordered Anglo-Dutch oil giant Royal Dutch Shell to pay over 183 billion naira as compensation to Ejema Ebubu, a Ogoni community in Tai Eleme local government area of Rivers State, south of Nigeria. The judgment reaffirmed an earlier one handed down by Federal High Court in Asaba Delta State for a 1970 oil spill which destroyed 255 hectares of arable land and fishing resources. It has been the same story all over the Niger Delta region, where facilities belonging to multinational oil companies like Shell and ANI continue to wreak havoc on lives and property, with the IOCs most times failing to take responsibility. We're now being joined by Omoshola Deji, a researcher and development analyst who just returned from the Ogoni land in Niger Delta region, where he had gone to observe what's been going on with the cleanup of the grossly polluted environment. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, thank you.
So, what exactly has taken so long for the Ogoni cleanup program to actually start off? We had this very, dramatic opening launch by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo a few years ago, and after that, radio silence. So the news now that 16 companies have been mobilized, is that good news for that community? Are things actually going to start to happen now?
Well, it's good news. At least it's good to start from somewhere. But the cleanup has taken quite long because of the lack of much commitment by the government and the hostility in the region. The Nigerian government has been playing this kind of politics with the cleanup in Ogoni land. And the people there too, they are kind of like hostile because the level of trust is at zero level. So when government or any company is coming into Ogoni land, there's this kind of resistance based on suspicion. Majority of the population believe that once they are coming into their land, it is to explore their oil. And majority of the population don't really know the difference between Shell and other companies. Once you step into Ogoni land, you'll be hearing, oh, na Shell, na them, all those kind of things. So that has made the process a little bit tedious for the cleanup companies to gain access into the areas, then to gain the support of the communities too, which is very important. Then, for them to clean up the land areas, they need to seek some form of permission and cooperation from the owners of the land where the oil spill has been affected. So the process of dialogue, commitment on the part of government as well in terms of awarding the contracts, those bureaucratic complexities involved dragged the process on for long. But I can say that the cleanup has started. Right now, there are like 21 sites where the cleanup is going on. And I was able to visit some and saw the process myself.
So, two questions for you. Number one is, was this trip as part of your research and part of your writing? So tell us a little bit about that. But also, too, in these sites where there are cleanups, help me understand what actually happens there, because these are cleanups of hydrocarbons, which has to be very specialized type of cleanups. What type of equipment? These 16 companies, there has been criticism about some of them not actually being experts in this field. Just give me a sense of what it was like for you as a person to be there.
Well, my visit to Ogoni land is based on research, academic research. And upon getting there, the companies there have been arguments from different quarters that these companies are not really qualified to do the cleanup process, that some of the companies were registered as agricultural firms, importation and all that, but now they have been awarded contracts by the Nigerian government. Then that beats your imagination that is the people awarding the contract sleeping, that they can't do their due diligence to investigate, to get some of what these companies have done in the past in terms of the cleanup process. Now, the process that is being used right now is bioremediation. Bioremediation, from a layman perspective, is a process whereby they have to import some organisms. Now, scientists believe that some organisms survive on hydrocarbons, just like plants, human being breathe in oxygen, breathe out carbon monoxide. The reverse is the case for plants. So there are some organisms that survive on these hydrocarbons. So they are going to put some of those organisms into that particular site, and after a long while, those organisms will feed on those hydrocarbons. And when they feed on those hydrocarbons, the environment will take its natural state after a minimum period of about 30 years, according to the UNEP report. Then you now ask, okay, if they do this to the land, what happens to the marines? Now, some of the experts of those companies explain that the wells, I mean the water wells, not oil wells now, that there's this process whereby they have to apply intense pressure. Now, they believe that if oil is on the water surface and you apply pressure, that the oil is going to go to the edges of that surface. And when the oil goes to the edges of that surface, then they can evacuate those oil. That's how they intend to clean the
water supply.
The water supply. But for the land is the
these hydrocarbon-eating organisms.
Yeah, I was surprised too, because I'm not a scientist, because normally most organisms, including plants, dies when they come in contact with hydrocarbons. But in this case, the scientists have been able to come up with some organisms that they leave fat amongst hydrocarbons. Hydrocarbons is their favorite meal. So they import them there, monitor the environment, monitor the process, and see how it will go. Like, it will take them like 5 months, then they will monitor it for like a period of, I think, 4 or 5 years. But naturally, if the funds are intact and every process is being followed as it should be, it will take Ogoni land a minimum of 30 years for the land and marines to get back to the way God has created it.
And let's talk about funding, because that United Nations environmental program came in 2011 and said the Nigerian government would need $1 billion for this cleanup. So far, NNPC and IOCs have raised $180 million. That's quite a shortfall. What do you think?
Because Nigerian government itself is not responding very fast to the cleanup process. The Nigerian government is not leading the way, because if Nigerian government drop our own part of the fund, that, okay, this is $1 billion, for example, definitely the oil companies will have no choice than to drop their own funds too. So the oil companies' impunity rests on the immunity granted to them by the federal government. So the issue of fund, because the oil companies saw that government on their own part is a bit relaxed, so that is also encouraging them to also relax. And that is what part of what caused the pollution in the first instance, because when government is not implementing the laws, is not monitoring the exploration process as they should do, so definitely the oil companies feel relaxed, most especially when you have this comprador kind of relationship between the oil companies and the Nigerian ruling elites.
So we were just seeing some pictures on screen of you in Ogoni land. Tell us a little bit about what those pictures are and what we're seeing on your hands.
Well, I visited some of the oil spill sites. This place on the screen now is Gio. It's called Gio. So
And
Those
how
are
many
oil
years after
bunkerings.
how many years after the fact? The
I
oil
just
spill.
I just returned from there. Those are oil bunkers, and you can see there is oil spill there, large amount of oil spill. So I had to dip my entire finger. If you look at the water surface, you see oil spill. So this oil spill has killed all the marine creatures, and Ogoni people are largely farmers and fishermen. So their means of livelihood has been
Was this your first
affected.
time there?
Yeah, this is my first time.
Were you? I mean, we've all read about it. We've all seen it. Were you surprised to be there in real life and see the real damage?
I wasn't surprised because I've been reading about the Niger Delta since 2013. I've been doing works on it, so I wasn't really surprised to see that that's how the situation is. But what surprised me most is the level of neglect. How people that have such huge deposit of resources can be living in abject penury. How people can be suffering. Now, if people in other parts of Nigeria, the non-oil exploring part, thinks they are suffering, they need to visit all this Niger Delta region to see the real suffering. And it beats your imagination that these are the people whose resources is being used to run the country largely. Now, these people, they have no roads, no electricity, they have nothing. While I was speaking with one of my respondents, and I asked that, what are the industries? What industry do you have in Ogoni? And the person responded that the only industry that they have is the local government. That's where everybody runs to. That's where everybody wants to get employed. So we have restive youth that are very ruthless. You don't just wake up in the morning and say, okay, the next place for you to go is the Niger Delta or Ogoni land, because it is very easy for them to label you as an enemy. So these people are hungry. Well, if you want to see what anger truly means, take a visit to Ogoni land, and probably if you are speaking to some of their even educated few, you see the anger in them. You see when they express themselves, you see that bitterness, and that has transferred to the younger generations. You will see kids playing at the field. Then one will just pick up a stick and say, "Where share? I go shoot share. Share go die. Share no go enter Ogoni land again." You know, the anger is there. You will see an old woman farming. There may be helicopter passes by, and she will throw a stick into the air that, you know, she is bitter. She is annoyed. And the reason why these are is these people, all they have is farming and fishing. So the oil pollution over the decades has destroyed their means of livelihood. This is not to exonerate the Ogoni people. No, they have their own blame because Shell has stopped oil exploration in Ogoni land since the 90s. Now, the spills are still occurring as a result of oil bunkering. You see people surviving on oil bunkering. They will go and tap the oil illegally, though there have been arguments by some Ogoni sons and daughters that these people will not just go and tap the oil without the connivance of workers of Shell, that the oil comes with high pressure. So it is not possible for you to go there and tap oil. That's a picture of oil bunkering. I had to zoom it, you know. They go into the creek, tap the oil. Now, this guy there has cancer. Cancer is very prevalent in Ogoni land. This is the high stage of cancer. You can see his mouth. He has been suffering this for like 5 years. There are so many cases like that.
The UNEP report said there's 900 times this particular carcinogenic, but Bazrine, in their
Benzene.
water. They're ingesting that constantly. But I want to talk to you about this anger. Who is it directed at? Because the Hydrocarbon Pollution Restoration Project, Nigerian staff of that MDA visited Ogoni land, and their staff was almost lynched recently.
The truth is, the people are angry with government and the oil company, specifically Shell. Now, it is a three-way thing. The people on one side against the Nigerian government and Shell. Okay. Why is the people angry against the Nigerian government?
I want you to hold that thought on anger, because I don't want us to lose this conversation on anger. I really want us to go into who they're angry with. But we're going to take a short break. When we come back, let's explore this anger a little bit more and actually know who this anger is directed to. We'll be right back.
Dear Mom, thank you for making my hair look great for my prom. All my friends were jealous.
For over 25 years, we have satisfied different generations of women. With our unique brand of hair cream, the Soulmate Hair Conditioner Plus, a rich, concentrated formula that produces magnificent hair conditioning and shine to give you that look of confidence. Soulmate Hair Conditioner Plus, hair care like soul care.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Omoshola Deji, a researcher and development analyst who just returned from Ogoni land in the Niger Delta region, is still with us. And we're going to pick up on Tundu's question, which is, who is this anger that you speak of actually directed to?
The anger is basically directed at the Nigerian government for marginalizing. They believe that government had marginalized them, and even at the state government as well, because the Ogoni people are saying that since the creation of the state, no Ogoni sons or daughter has been the governor, deputy governor, speaker, none of them. So they believe that the marginalization is much, that government has neglected them in terms of development. Now, for the oil companies, they believe that the oil companies came into their land, explored their resources, and left them in abject poverty. But then, we need to look at it that whose responsibility it is to develop Ogoni land. There have been scholarly arguments back and forth that the responsibility of developing anywhere within the Nigerian territory is that of the Nigerian government. That the oil companies came into Nigeria, they were paying adequate rent, taxes, royalties as agreed by the Nigerian government and the people of Ogoni land as at then. Now, people are saying that because the Nigerian government has failed in its responsibility to use the resources accrued to develop Ogoni land, the Ogoni people have now seen Shell as a form of alternative government, whereby they now pass the responsibility of the Nigerian government to Shell, that the development of Ogoni land is the responsibility of the Nigerian government and not Shell. That Shell can only contribute in the form of corporate social responsibility. Whether Shell has done enough in that aspect, if you ask me, I would say no. Because, and the reason is that the cost of maintaining peace, if the cost of maintaining peace is higher than the cost of going through the short route, definitely you will go through the short route as a multinational corporation which is in Nigeria basically to make profit. Every business entity goes into an environment to maximize their profit. So people have argued that the cost of maintaining peace, what the Ogoni people are demanding for, where after seeing Shell as alternative government is probably too much for Shell to cope with. So they had to kind of like go through the short route, which brings the aspect of disunity and sabotage of the effort of Ken by some of the Ogoni leaders. So the development issue in Ogoni land is between Nigerian government, and one cannot really exonerate Shell for the oil spill, but the Ogoni people too, as you can see, you know, I met some respondents, and they will deny that bunkering is not going on in Ogoni land, that there's nothing like bunkering, that the continuing oil spill is as a result of dilapidated and obsolete oil infrastructures. But when you go to the field and you meet some other people, they will tell you the absolute truth that oil bunkering is going on. So as much as oil bunkering is going on, and this illegal refinery, which they called Fire, now they refine this crude illegally, and while refining this crude, they say they are cooking the oil to separate the PMS from kerosene, diesel, and all that. Now, while cooking this, it forms a dark cloud into the atmosphere. And the dark cloud sometimes grows very thick into the atmosphere. And when it goes into the atmosphere, when rain is going to fall, it will come in form of black rain, whereby if you are putting on white and the rain unfortunately beats you, that white is condemned. And this rain falls on the roof of people that don't have water, and some of these people take the water of this rain to cook. Some of them drink this water. Some of them rely on this rain, black rain, as source of getting water. So you will see that
the cycle just
it just keeps.
It's a vicious cycle.
It just keeps going. So one cannot really say the blame should go to one side out of the tree. No, the Ogoni people have their own responsibility. The oil company and the Nigerian government as well.
Wow, I don't even know where to go with this. It is. One of the things you've said is actually the responsibility of the Ogoni people, which I want to talk to you more about. But do you feel that this is a result of feeling disempowered? And therefore, yes, they're doing all these things, but that is because the economic pipelines, sorry to use that word, has actually been cut off. And so there's no opportunity for farming, there's no opportunity for fishing. And so really these are alternative economic activities, and that is why sort of this vicious cycle happens. And cleanup is going to take 30 years, which means a child born today is going to only know of a polluted Ogoni. How do we get out of this cycle? How does the government, how does Shell, how do the Ogoni people get out of this cycle?
Well, in terms of this empowerment, Ogoni people are truly disempowered. But then my visit to Ogoni land made me to come up with an assertion that unemployment, when you are unemployed for a very long time and you wake up, you do nothing for years, it naturally brings in the spirit of laziness. Then, after a while, you will notice that you become lazy, naturally lazy, because you are just used to waking, sleeping, doing nothing. Then when you become naturally lazy, even when opportunities are by your side, you won't see it because you have imbibed the culture of laziness. You have taken that laziness as a way of life. So one of the long-term effect of unemployment is it brings laziness. And now, I'm not saying the people are lazy, but some of their youth have not been able to tap the opportunities available to them. For example, I was to go to a place, and I was speaking to a bike man that usually carry me and my research assistant. And I told him, you take me to Pite by 2. He said, Oga, that 2, I know they work for sun. It doesn't work in the sun. This is a guy that has nothing. This is a guy that the bike was given to him as a constituency project by one of their top politicians. And for you that have wife and family in a community that you rarely see people to carry, and you are fortunate to see someone that say, you carry me to this place, and you know you will be paid, and you naturally say you don't work in the sun.
So the destruction isn't just environmental, it's psychological.
It is psychological. Then there is that sense of entitlement sometimes that this oil is their own. So why should they have to be struggling unnecessarily? For example, I went to one of the IPREP sites, and one of the Ogoni guys that's working there told me that, see you now, which means see you people. No be our money that they train in our go school. Which means, is it not our money that they used to train you people to school? Imagine that kind of mentality, that sense of entitlement that even whatever you have become today is because of their oil. Then you ask yourself that, have you ever gotten scholarship from government or any kind of sponsorship or anything? The answer is no, but this is what they believe. So that alone makes them,
builds this resentment.
Yes, except for the elite among them. But the youth, the youth among them, they have this sense of entitlement in them that the oil belongs to them. And apart from the fact that there is no work, but most of the opportunities around them, they don't really harvest those opportunities well because they have been exposed to unemployment for a long time, and it's now used to them. They would rather see maybe they can do some of these oil bunkering, cultism, join politics, some of these shortcut, but the hard work, except for the elite among them. But if you go to the core rural areas there, the youth there, harvesting the opportunities among them, they've not really done so much. So they have been disempowered truly, but then they themselves are not doing much to move themselves away from that level of disempowerment. Port Harcourt to Ogoni land is like 1 hour drive or so. Now, you ask yourself that, okay, if your community has been disempowered, how many of these youth will go to Port Harcourt to hustle? How many of them will go to Port Harcourt to, find something doing? But most of them will prefer to sit down and think that, okay, government will come and do this for them. One professor or billionaire, just 1 or 2 or 3 in their community, will soon come back and distribute money and bike to them. You see them believing that maybe one day the manna will just fall from heaven. And we can't really blame this because I was speaking to one of their paramount ruler, and he said that some of the politicians are the causes of this, because when you pick a young boy that knows nothing, that's just opportune to join one cult group or the other, an election is coming, then you place this young boy on a payroll of like 150,000 monthly. And this boy thinks, oh, this is heaven on earth. And he wakes up, drinks alcohol, smoke weed, and after election, you stop this payment. What would you expect this youth to do after that? They want to keep the life going. So you find that the underdevelopment in Ogoni land is psychological. It's a whole lot of complex issue that you have to have been bracketed. What I mean by that is you are conducting research, you have no connection with Ogoni land. That's when you can really speak the utmost truth as it is. Because if you are not bracketed, if you are maybe one of the sons and daughters of Ogoni, if you belong to the oil company, if you belong to the government circle, you will still kind of like, be dancing around the issues in such a way that it will favor the group that you so belong to. So one of the things is those research on Niger Delta is best conducted that people that have no prior contact with the environment, those are the kind of people that can say, okay, this is how it is, this is how it is, this is how it is. Most of the things we hear on radio and TV, I'm sorry to say, most of them are lies. You see government officials coming to lie that, oh, they've done this, they've done that, they've done heaven to earth, coming to portray themselves as one, magician. Then you see the oil companies too lying to the media. There was a particular time at LMA, it was reported that a particular filling station was just giving fuel to the Ogoni people free. This was a lie. And the oil company claimed that this was going on. And you find Ogoni people too. Sometimes the image the people portray to the average Nigerian is that everywhere in Ogoni is covered with oil spill. That immediately you step into Ogoni land like this, you are stepping into oil. That's not the case. The oil spill is in some selected areas, but the places where the oil spill are, the area is quite much, very vast.
155 hectares.
Very vast area of land, and it is in different places, different segments. But there are still places that are not polluted, and people still farm in these places. But when people farm on such lands, they reap the consequence of oil bunkering, because when that dark rain falls on the plant won't grow well. And you find that some of the cassava leaves, they have this premature growth. And you will see that the leaves gradually begins to turn to yellow, from green to yellow. So the cassava is not as big as it is. If you look at their fish there, the fish that the people are eating, it's very small, very tiny, because the fish hardly grow old. The fish hardly gets matured. So it's the responsibility of I was speaking to one of their professors from Ogoni land, the former VC of Rivers State University of Tech and Technology, Professor Fakai. He said this issue has that everybody has to search within it or herself and be genuine that where have I gotten it wrong and what can I do? That except that is done, nothing meaningful can be achieved in Ogoni land. The government has to be genuine, the people have to be genuine, the leaders have to be genuine. And I must not fail to add this, that one of the problems Ogoni people have is this factionalization. You see, every youth want to come up with one organization or the other. They want to get recognized. So government doesn't even know who to really talk to. Mossab has been factionalized, and there are so many organizations like that they call themselves social movement. And as one of their illustrious sons said, that some people have turned this activism of a thing into a commercial purpose for earning income. And you tag them commercial activists. So it's a whole lot of complex issue whereby everybody needs to be able to give up his or her short-term gain to get the long-term one. Because if everybody still wants to cut corners, definitely the development cannot be achieved. The cleanup For example, if the process is not completed, if oil bumping still continues, as they are cleaning one, another one is occurring. As they are cleaning one, another one is occurring. If Shell herself did not monitor our infrastructures well, and these obsolete infrastructures continue to spill oil, so as they are cleaning one, another one is occurring. If the youth are not sincere and they are after their pocket, definitely nothing can work. If the people themselves do not open their heart to embrace peace and development, definitely nothing can be achieved, because you find a situation whereby immediately you step into Ogoni land and you are going, you will know that some people are seeing you, they are monitoring you, they are giving themselves signals. If you are not careful, before you know it, you might be kidnapped or something. Or if they speak their language that you don't understand, and God is not with you, and they label you an enemy, and they are labeling you an enemy in your front, and you don't know because you don't understand the language, before you know it, you might just be long gone. So the people themselves too has to kind of like embrace that peace, have to see things from another perspective, another aspect of life, for the development that they want, the cleanup, to be successful. Then on the part of these IPREP people, they need to also do the right thing. Because while I spoke with one of their experts there, so I now try to stylishly speak to one of the Ogoni boys that is there with them. And the guy told me, say, okay, they are cheating also. They pay us 1,000 per day for feeding, 4,000 for their labor. But the guy said what they should normally be paying them is 10,000 naira. That they've slashed it into 2. How true that is, I don't know. But the guy specifically begged me that, please, I should help them look into it. So the people that are in charge, they are hearing now. If they are supposed to pay these people 10,000 and they are being paid 5,000, they should go and balance up. That's the right thing to do. Then these IPREP people, the companies that they gave the contract to, some of them are still owing some of these experts. You find the situation where some of these companies, they exploit some of these experts. After a while, they lay them off, bring in another one without settling the ones that have that initially worked for them. So the truth is, everybody lacks one form of sincerity or the other. On the part of the leadership, the part of the government, the part of the people, the part of Shell, the part of, name it.
But then
the cleanup companies.
How do you now, okay, well, we've been talking about this environmental cleanup, but how do you affect a behavioral cleanup, an attitudinal cleanup? How does that happen at this point?
Yeah, the thing is, if you want to effect the attitudinal cleanup, the trust has been badly damaged. So if you want to change their orientation, Ogoni people want that, okay, before you even come for this cleanup, some believe that that cleanup is a process to just pacify them so that Shell or another company will start coming to exploit their oil. Some of them said the debt that Shell has owed them, that they should come and pay. For example, I was speaking with one of their chiefs. He said from 1989 to 1994, that's 5 years, on 5.10 acre of land, Shell paid the community 310,000 naira. 1994 to 1999, Shell paid the community 1,005,000 naira. The last 5 years, Shell paid 5,030,000 naira. And the man was saying, out of that 5,030,000, because they have been badly neglected and they had nothing, they used 1.2 million to fix water, 1.3 million to fix the solar street light. That now there is nothing again. So they want a situation whereby Government will come, the oil company will come, sit down with them. Before anything is done, they want to be seeing infrastructures. Ogoni people believe that, hey, before you come into our land for anything, let's see that school that you are building, that you are doing the roof. Then you can come in. We know that you are sincere. But a situation whereby you just come and say, this, that, this, they won't believe you. They'll believe, oh, you are just coming to lie to them. Their orientation. And to be fair, like 2 Ogoni respondents confided in me that what is responsible for this orientation is part of what Kensaruwiwa preached. Kensaruwiwa is extremely loved across Ogoni land till date, just like the late Sonny Abacha is extremely loved in Kano till date. That's how it is. Now, they said that when the struggle was on, that Ken will go into all the villages and say, Share is owing Ogoni money. And if Share pays this money, all of you will ride in Mercedes-Benz. That the money is so much that we might not need to work again. These lyrics sinks into the senses of these people. They believe, oh, Shell is owing us money. If Shell pays this money, we are made. So we must do everything to make sure that Shell pays this money. So that orientation was sticking into the people.
I have a question for you. So what does this new judgment mean then for the Ogoni people? I mean, 183 billion naira has been upheld, first from the Asaba Federal High Court, now has been upheld in the UK. What does this mean for them? Is this a day of jubilation for them?
Well,
it's a celebration? Do they think they're ever going to get paid for it?
It's a day of jubilation and celebration because Shell must obey the court judgment. They will pay. But my fear is, this money is huge sum of money.
Yes.
Will this money get to the have-nots? That farmer and fisherman that has nothing, absolute nothing, will the effect of this money, will it get to them? Or once the money comes, the people in charge call themselves, settle themselves, and that ends it. That's the major. So I would have loved if the court had given a judgment that Ogoni people should be paid so amount in form of infrastructures. That this dollars is the judgment, but this money should probably be used to do this, to do that, to do this, so that the people can feel the effect. Not that you say, pay Ogoni people. Then you see some people going to share as the voice of the Ogoni people. Then they collect the money on behalf of the Ogoni people. Then the Ogoni people.
So what you're suggesting is like what the Swiss banks did with the latest tranche of their Abacha loot and told the Nigerian government it was a conditional, arrangement with the Nigerian government. But do you think a London court would go into all that minutiae?
No, the thing is, because, like I said, my fear is how the average Ogoni people will benefit from this judgment. Because they are the people that have been suffering it. Those that are rich among them, they take.
So do you think the federal government will step in and do what they did with that Abacha loot?
The sincerity on the part of the federal government itself is questionable. A federal government that will go and award contracts to a company that is licensed to import agricultural products to do bioremediation, you call that sincerity?
Yeah, only one company out of all the companies has experience.
So
only one.
So people are doing this thing probably to reward their friends and families. And we might have a situation whereby a company will get the contract from the government, that company will go and award it to another company to come and do the job. Then the company would have, cut the pay, then that other company will be struggling and may not be able to do the right thing. Then when you get there, there are boys on ground that before you do anything, what's up? That's the language. Buy me drink. They want to get drink, and not drink that maybe you just buy them one. No, they need
a steady supply.
Yes, the cash from you. So the challenges is quite much, to be fair to the company on the field themselves, because sometimes when they want to do this cleanup, for example, when I went to one of the IPREP sites, the expert there was telling me that this palm tree now, for example, I can see that they have to uproot it. It's already down on the floor, lying flat, that, because for the cleanup to be proper, that before the community can agree with them to uproot that one palm tree, it takes a lot of talks, negotiation, renegotiation. And you know that the people now, they are like wiser. So they demand for something that you can't even imagine.
Because they don't want to be exploited.
Exactly, and you can't just really...
So they're so defensive.
Yes, you can't just really go there and just uproot. There are some, you need to negotiate with them. So imagine what... The man did not reveal the information of how much they are paying for something. Then those that are bringing some of the materials, for them to access Ogoni land, some of these boys block the road. They want their own pay. So it's
a very complex. What you've described is extremely complex.
It's so complex.
It needs a multi-sectoral approach,
And
also
very
too,
complex.
like emotional, behavioral. It really. So when we say cleanup, I think a lot of times when we think of Ogoni cleanup, we think of just the hydrocarbon cleanup. What you're saying is that it is deeper, more complicated, and more layered than that. And really, all the parties need to come together, but we need external parties to actually join them in sort of rebuilding a whole community.
Yes, we need that commitment. That commitment is really lacking. To be fair to the Ogoni people, it is very bad, terrible, for you to go into a community, destroy their land and marines, not have a good relationship with the people, kill their illustrious son, and keep them in abject penury. Like I said earlier, these people are suffering. You would think that people around are suffering, but then some people have said that you people are suffering. Are other Nigerians enjoying? There's no light in Ogoni. Is there light in Anambra? Is there light in Kano? Is there light in Jigawa? Is there light in Oyo State? That it's a national thing. But then you won't compare these states that I've mentioned to these oil-producing areas. They deserve better than what they are getting. And some of them are saying now that if any oil company wants to come into their land, they need 10% of what that company is making on their land, 10% of the funds, the profit, that they will have a committee among themselves to now be using this fund to develop their land by themselves.
Well, we hope that's what happens with the Shell judgment as well, that they are able to sort of use that money to develop the land and develop themselves. Omoshola Deji, thank you so much for such an insightful, and I think that for even sharing the complexity of this problem with us in a way that goes beyond just the cleanup. I think we thought we were going to be talking about cleanup today, but I think we now realize that it is much more than just a physical cleanup. It is really an emotional cleanup. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
It's time now for a short break. When we come back, Arise News analyst and producer Charles Ohako will be joining us to review newspaper headlines.